Good day to you, and thanks for joining me. It is a beautiful spring day, one of the last days of spring. I can feel that summer heat. Today I'm standing by my pokeberry plant, and I would like to share some facts about this wonderful plant. I'm Spenta, and I'm thankful that you're here watching, visiting, and many thanks for your subscriptions and likes and shares and comments. I'd like to start with letting you know that this plant here, the pokeberry plant, known as pokeweed, dragonberry, and also a few other plants, is all over North America. It actually starts from Quebec down to Florida, and here it is very invasive, though it is edible in the early spring. Right now, I would not eat from this plant anymore because it has given berries. This plant, pokeweed, this plant actually belongs to the nightshade family. The nightshade family has something in its leaves. It contains solanine. A lot of you may have consumed or do consume items, veggies that actually are belonging to the nightshade family, and some of those are the delicious tomatoes, potatoes, and eggplants. However, the fruit itself is not poisonous on tomatoes, potatoes, or your eggplants. The leaves themselves, if consumed in a large portion, can be poisonous. So you want to keep that in mind. Here, pokeberry, if I step back here, this here is a plant that I actually cut short for purpose of video. I cut another one even shorter, and I allowed one of my plants to go towards maturity just so I could share with you what it looks like and what a mature pokeberry starts to look like when it hits towards the end of spring. As I mentioned, if you are interested in eating this plant, and I will explain that a little bit later in the video, if you are interested in eating it, the best time to eat it is early spring before it berries, when it has just small baby leaves on it, young leaves, and it has not matured and it has not produced any mature leaves, such as the leaves that you see right there behind you. This here now is toxic to humans and most mammals. Birds do love it. This flower right here, it attracts lots of bees, butterflies like it, and later on the fruit itself has a beautiful dark red color, just like the stem of the plant, and it is so attractive to birds that birds took it and put it all over the place, and that is why it is now known to be actually an invasive plant. It does grow in Asia, in Australia, in Africa. As I mentioned, it grows all over the place. They used to use it as dye, and I know some back cultures that used its red berries to color wine, though I'm not sure how and what results happen after that because the berries are toxic. I mentioned earlier that you can eat pokeweed. Well, the best way to eat it is when it's young. So when it's young, the plants will look something like this, and this is only for purpose of video. I will no longer be eating pokeweed from my gardens for this season because I mentioned that it is now the last days of spring, and right there, as you see, I have cut from that just to make sure I can save some and film some for you so I can show what it looks like when it's young. Just has young leaves, okay? But as you see, even though this is young, it has started to give some berries. So don't be tricked, okay? Lots of times children are tricked by this plant. The reason for that is its berries actually shape like grape, and children most often confuse this and mistake this with grapes. So that's what it looks like when it's young. Smaller leaves. See, that is some mint right there, and so that was some pepper. So you want your your actual pokeweed leaves to be small when you're consuming them, something to that size, and a lighter green shade, and what you have to do is you have to have enough to harvest in order to put it in a strainer. What I like to do is I like to grab lots of pokeweed salad leaves right here, pokeberry leaves, when they're young in the springtime, early in the spring, and I like to put them in the strainer and wash them. After I wash them, I put them in boiling water and I boil them for 15 minutes each, and then I pour out the water and repeat the process 3 times. So I actually boil this 3 times and then one last time just as a safety precautionary method. It is a very good diuretic and it is good for your system, and in the South it's actually a good delicacy item because they actually eat this in the South. They eat this as poke salad, and it's actually loved by so many people that the seeds themselves are precious. Now the seeds, you can purchase the seeds. However, as I mentioned, they are invasive, so if you want them in your gardens, you have to take a few steps. What I like to do is I like to keep pokeberries here because they do attract other, I mentioned I love to have gardens, right? So I'm a gardener, so I love pollinators to come over. So birds are great, butterflies and bees, let's bring them over. Enjoy the plant early in the springtime, let it grow and mature, and then cut it from the bottom. After it's you are done eating from it, you can cut it from the bottom. So let's start that one more time. If you are wanting to eat from it early in the springtime. Then if you're wanting to have the plant produce more, let it grow, allow it to go into seed, then you can cut it short from the base like I have right there. And if it continues to grow, that's okay. As I mentioned, it is invasive and it will continue to grow throughout the summer and fall. It enjoys zones 4 through 8. Keep that in mind. 4 through 8. You can also allow it to go large like that, which I have done to one plant because I'd like to keep this section full of pollinators. And the rest of the plants I will cut down, and just like I have here, right here, I will continue to trim them down. Then it comes the fall season. As soon as this hits cooler weather, the stalks that are red turn purplish and start to dry off. They get really stiff. The stems get really stiff, and then at that point you can actually cut them off the ground. They will come back next year. These seeds go everywhere, so keep that in mind. Pokeberry is invasive, but you can grow it in your gardens. I have done so for many years. I've enjoyed the young leaves early spring, and so can you. It's a beautiful plant itself, so if you're wanting to add it to your gardens, go right ahead. I highly recommend it. I'm Spenta, and I wish you a beautiful day, and thank you for watching my share.